Hello, Michael Jacobi here, and welcome to a very special edition of the Talk of the Town. In the next hour, we'll be having a fascinating chat with Athletic Director Marie Tuite of San Jose State University and head coach of the Spartans, I should say the Mountain West champion Spartans, Coach Brent Brennan. Well, a range of topics that I think you'll enjoy. But I wanted to bring you up to date with some very exciting news that has happened since we taped this show. And that is that Coach Brennan has received the Lombardi Foundation Coach-of-the-Year. This is a big deal. In fact, in over 100 years of football at San Jose State, they've never had a Coach of the Year. Well, this is it, and no one deserves it more or a better program which to receive it. I want to take one more moment to thank our friends at Willow Street, Los Gatos, and Main Street Burgers. They, too, are so proud of the coach and Marie for what they were able to do and what they do continually in making San Jose State University and their sports programs are very special. Willow Street has been involved with that program for over 12 years, and they're so happy to be part of that community as well as ours. So, enjoy the show. This is Talk of the Town. Hello, and welcome to Talk of the Town. We can all take our masks off now. We're socially distanced. Delighted to have you joining us today. I've been on for a little while, but we've got a very special show for you. Joining me are a couple of old friends, iconic folks here in the Bay Area. Marie Tuite, to my immediate left with the lipstick, just so we're not confused. Athletic Director of San Jose State University. Right. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Brent Brennan, head coach of the Spartan Football team, which I believe you're also called the Mountain West champions.
That's correct.
Not too bad. Well, we're delighted to have you here to, as I say, we're socially distanced, and it would have been a wonderful year to have been socially together, but it was not meant to be the year that wasn't. Let's talk a little bit about what happened. A year ago, say January, you'd had a great recruiting year. You were raising money for new facilities in the area. Willow Street was serving inside. What possibly could have gone wrong?
Right, yeah. Actually, it's coming up on about a year. March 16th was our shelter in place, and then our world's changed forever.
Talk a little bit about how, and I know you and I were in communication a lot during that time. Every other day it was the NCAA was saying this, the government was saying this, Mountain West was saying this.
Yeah, it was a really interesting, well, actually the whole year has just been incredible, but when we started in the spring, we had no idea that we would experience what we did in July and August and September. When we went into shelter in place, then you'll recall, we kind of cut the curve and we thought we were getting on the other side of it, or maybe in May or June, and up until that point, we were still pretty optimistic that we were going to come back and have a pretty robust fall sports schedule. And then, of course, as we entered into the summer months, we realized that that was not going to be the case. Brought our football team back on Monday, July 16th or 17th, I think. We were still optimistic. And then obviously as we got into August, we knew that things were not going to be the way that we had hoped they would be.
Well, Brent, it was like running the Indy 500 and going back to first every other lap, starting over again. How tough was that?
It was really tricky.
Yeah.
You know, obviously you're dealing with a bunch of young men who just had their entire world turned upside down. They've been canceled football. They've been sent home. You know, they're running in parks and lifting in garages and trying to stay in shape. They're taking classes online, and nothing felt the same for them. And so it was a really big challenge for our coaching staff and myself as we were trying to help them navigate that and figure out what was going to be the best way for us to keep building our team and keep them moving in the right direction, even though no part of their process or their normal process was intact.
Well, and there was no way to know either with things being so loose and changing daily. Whereas you might say, I think we've turned a corner, and then there's no street after you turn the corner, because you got the word we're on, and then you got the word we're off, then on off, right?
Right. And I think there were a few head coaches meetings. We were having them every week, and I gave them some information at 11 a.m. and I think I had to reach out to them at noon and say, guess what? Everything I told you at 11 a.m. is now gone. But we're Spartans, and we adjust, and we had a lot of plans, a lot of protocols in place. We just wanted to be prepared for whatever came at us, and we learned a lot this year about ourselves. I actually happen to think we're all better professionals and better people having gone through what we went through.
Well, I would imagine the old make lemonade that there must have been, Brent, from your standpoint, extraordinary bonding.
Yeah,
you could look
question.
at it two ways. They could have just said, the hell with it, or let's make the best of it and let's do this together.
No, I think, a lot of what gave that a chance to happen was Marie's leadership, Dr. Papazian's leadership. When the season was canceled, there was just this total fallout with our team and just how everybody felt. And then when it was reinstated, it was like, how are we going to do this? We can't practice here. And so the collaboration from the CSU, Humboldt State University, Marie, Dr. Papazian, like the moves they were making, Charlie Foss, finding a place for us to practice so that our development and our process to get ready could start. Otherwise, we were going to be stuck with a game. When they said go, we had a game 4 weeks later, and we didn't start until a week after that.
Yeah.
But it was this incredible effort by Marie and Dr. Papazian to get us moving up to Humboldt so that we could have that experience.
Yeah, and you alluded to the point at Humboldt because because the Santa Clara County ruled that there were no sports practicing.
Correct. No contact. You
No
couldn't have any
contact
contact.
sports.
Right. And so, our
And now a lot of schools at that point would just, all right, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Maybe next year.
Right. And there were a lot of schools within the Mountain West, to be honest with you, that were getting better every day.
Yeah.
And so the longer that we sort of didn't have a plan, I was nervous because, again, as Brent said, we were trying to get our football program ready to play. So the Santa Clara County health officials, they had a lot on their plate. They've been dealing with a lot, and they just basically said, you can't practice here. So then we went into Plan B and said, okay, where can we? So we took a look at the entire state, and it was either Merced or it was up in Humboldt. Those were the only counties that we felt that were in a tier that perhaps would entertain us.
So now you've got these young men away from home, probably a little frightened, and not knowing what's up next, and a lot of movies together, a lot of hanging around the campfire. How'd you get through this?
It was, as I look back on it, it was an incredibly special time.
Yeah.
We got there. We were all staying in the same dorm. I mean, even the coaches, right?
Yeah.
So we had our own quarantine, like our own bubble was completely intact there. And you'd walk 100 yards to the practice field and 100 yards back. And you did it kind of all together. So it was literally like high school football. It's like training camp, double days. And it kind of had this magic to it for our football team. During the day we had practice in the morning, we had class in the afternoon, we had study hall and meetings at night. So it became.
So they were carrying a full schedule of classes.
Yes.
At the time, so doing all that virtually.
Yeah, not your normal training camp.
Yeah.
Right, but while we were there, they had no choice because we couldn't leave the dorm, we couldn't leave campus. It really was, it was like jail. I mean, it was, but it forced guys to hang out with guys they don't normally hang out with. It forced interactions and some relationship building that might not happen naturally if everybody was here in their separate housing situations in San Jose.
Now, as athletic director, did you get, I don't want to say heat, but did you get a lot of requests from the rest of your sports? How about us?
Yeah. Actually,
John Kennedy is a friend of mine, the golf coach, and I know he was asking how about us.
It's surprisingly, but the rest of the coaches were sort of use football as the example.
Yeah.
Go through it with them. Figure out how we can maintain this Division I FBS level football. Figure out all the kinks. And by then the NCAA had also moved fall championships to the spring. So the soccer and the volleyball and cross country, those all got moved to the spring. So basically,
and are we on schedule for that?
Yep,
Okay.
still on schedule. So basically, everybody was watching football, and can we make it work? That was the key. Can we figure out a way to get through this football schedule while the rest of the sports were kind of watching? So, and the beautiful thing about a football program is certainly at San Jose State is, and this is a credit to Coach Brennan, they're all cheering for him. Every one of those coaches were cheering for our football program. They wanted them to succeed so they would also have a chance to succeed in the spring.
While the folks at home, we air this for a long period of time, you'll maybe seeing this much later in the year. We are taping it the week after Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Some strange prop bets. I had a bet that 7-1 Tom Brady would turn 50 during the game, but I lost that one. Mm-hmm. But you got to say kudos to professional sports and to collegiate sports for getting through it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's I don't know what those cardboard people are going to do next year, but it was pretty remarkable, particularly with the NBA and the bubble, Major League Baseball getting through. They pulled off the NFL, and and incredibly, you guys were hit. But was there? I'd be interested to hear your opinion on this. When there were what I call the latecomers, like all of a sudden the Big Ten said, "Oh, we'll play," and Ohio State comes in, and who ends up playing for the championship. I wouldn't say anger, but was there some commit or don't commit, guys? I mean, what are we doing here?
Well, a lot of us were in the same situation. Yeah. If you remember, we were postponed and then canceled, then restarted. And I believe one of the reasons that it became easier for us to restart and the Pac-12 to restart and the Big Ten to restart was because they saw other conferences getting through it, working through the process, figuring out testing, figuring out training, figuring out playing games, figuring out fans. So that process started. So there was, I'm not sure how many, but there was the Sun Belt and the Big 12 and the ACC, they were playing the first month of September. And I think as everybody watched that, or as America watched that, I know for me, like our team was like, "Coach, what the heck? How come they can play, we can't?" Yeah. I'm like, "Well, I don't know. How do I answer that?" And so, then the conversation started going, like, third week of September, and by the fourth week of September, we had a restart, and so it was on.
The common denominator, obviously, for everyone was the virus. Yet, we had. It's like the different football for different teams. We had different medical experts for each team say, we're fine. Yeah. And then that had to be a little frustrating.
Right. Overall, too, at the Division I level, at the FBS level, 86% of the games were played.
Really?
And I think for myself, I was careful to not judge what someone else was doing, because you're absolutely right. Depending upon your county, depending upon your state, depending upon your conference, there were different medical opinions that were being shared. And I think one of the things some people may have forgotten is that everything we did this year we hadn't done before. Whether it was the protocols, whether it was the testing, whether it was even responding to some of the situations we found ourselves in. We used to give ourselves a little bit of a pass because we'd never dealt with it before, communicating what we were doing. So I was actually pretty proud of the college football footprint that they were able to get through and get things done as safely as possible. I mean, the testing was improving. You found into September that there was the antigen testing that was happening, the PCR testing. Everything was getting better.
And that was not cheap, though.
It was not cheap. No, it's not cheap. But
and that has to come out of your budget as well.
Well,
was there a special? Does that come out of athletics?
Well, the university actually oversees the testing program. Yeah, but there's a cost to it. But it's a little bit of, again, what the county was saying is, if you want to practice and compete, here's what you have to do. And then that's what we did, and that's what we followed.
We're talking to Marie Tuite, Athletic Director of San Jose State University, and Brent Brennan, Head Coach of the San Jose State Spartans. Delighted that you're with us. We're going to take just 1 second to say thank you, a big thank you, to the folks at Willow Street Wood Fired Pizza and Main Street Burgers for underwriting this program. I could tell you a lot about Willow Street, but I bet you like it.
I love Willow Street. And my son, number one choice, Willow Street, pasta. Pasta's good.
You like pasta. Uh-huh. And you and the coaches, and I know you like Willow Street as well because you've hung out at Jazz and the Plaza with us, but your coaches, you guys do Main Street Burgers.
That's right, yeah. Easy, and it's always good. And both those spots are hits for us. I'm in Willow Street with my family all the time, and then Main Street Burger's always been a go-to. So
Well, thank you for saying that, and thank you to the guys. Truth be known, I'm involved in Willow Street, but also a big fan as being executive producer of Jazz on the Plavs. And we thank them, and as we tape this, we're just patios, delivery, and takeout. But as we go throughout the year, Lord willing, Melissa will get me back in here to tape another commercial saying, yeah, you can come inside. That's what we're hoping for. In Naples, the perfect pizza is cooked in a wood-fired oven. At Willow Street, our new pizzas, like our Dolce Picante, are also cooked in a wood-fired oven. The perfect pizza. It's closer than you think. So let's talk more about, you could call it the perfect storm or the imperfect storm. You're building a new facility. We're going to talk more about that in the next half hour. But timing for having a great season and having torn down the east side, it worked out great. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously it'd been great to have fans in the seats, but at what point when you were in Humboldt, Brent, did it all of a sudden hit you? Was it like an epiphany going, oh, these guys have made a turn?
You know, that started for me actually in spring practice. Like, so we got 5 days of spring practice in before we got shut down, and shelter in place started and everybody went home. And it was while we were there, I was watching spring practice. We were having a scrimmage. Actually, you'll like this. I went and watched my daughter play basketball in the NorCal semifinals up in Berkeley. And so we were having practice, and I called Marie. I'm like, hey, I'm going to miss practice. My daughter's playing, Casey's playing. And then Los Gatos High had this awesome run in the NorCal playoffs. And so I went to that game, and I hustled back. And I was standing there at the field. The scrimmage is happening in front of me. And I was like, I actually like kind of got teary. Yeah. Because as I was watching it, I was like, this looks like nothing we've had here so far. And while I was having this conversation with myself, my offensive coordinator tapped me on the shoulder, Kevin McGibbon, and he said, we're going to be really good. Yeah. And so he was seeing it too. He was standing behind me. We were both watching the same thing. And that was when I started to have an idea that we had something special with this football team.
We, our good friend Ed Rathman owns Willow Street. He and I, for years, have, up to this year, another one of the things I didn't do this year, have gone back with the team to a game, and we were at Arkansas with you guys. And I don't know if the camera can pick them up, but those very cool shoes. Those are Nike. Did you get those made at the?
They're actually golf shoes that I had. They're FootJoys that I had made.
They're totally hip.
Yeah.
Totally hip.
Got to fly the colors.
Yeah. Well, so Arkansas, and can we explain what a money game is, would you? Because I love this story.
First of all, I got to go back to Casey and basketball.
Okay, go
this
ahead.
guy turned into a high school or a girls' high school basketball fan. I mean, almost more excited to watch his daughter play high school basketball than maybe college football. But it was so fun to watch him get so excited about girls' basketball.
Now that's high praise coming from the #1 scorer in points at Central Michigan from 1972 to 74. Right. You don't think I can write the word Wikipedia?
That's right. And I still got a little.
And assistant coach.
I still got some game in me too. So
Hall of Fame,
field
hockey,
right.
field hockey, basketball, and discus. Is discus wrong?
No, not discus wrong.
So
So
tell what a money game is.
Okay, a money game is what we call a guarantee game, and usually you have one a season, and it's an opportunity for what we call the Power Five, or there's 5 conferences that make up the Power 5 conferences, where they will pay you to come and play them, and that's what the
and ostensibly pay you to lose, is their thinking.
Well, they want a game at home, and
they're not giving you money to come.
They want to prepare for their own competitive conference, and so they pick a school that perhaps they think they can.
So Arkansas.
Boy, oh boy.
They call you and they're going to give you, we won't mention the price, but it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
They're going to give you a lot of money. And I think, not that we'd ever think in these terms, but it was like a 17-point spread or something.
27.
Was it? It was more than that?
27.
It was 27? So
not that we know that.
Not that we know that. So we're at that game. You guys, in one of the most emotional games I've ever seen, you guys beat Arkansas.
Right.
And we're sitting there in the box, and I looked at Marie and I said, "Did you catch that check?"
Yeah, and then
I think they may cancel it.
Yeah, we were going to go drive the buses through a 24-hour savings and loans.
Yeah, just get
the check,
the money.
Get the check.
Get in the bank.
Yeah.
This extraordinary season. What does that mean? Obviously, first of all, congratulations on your new contract.
Thank you.
Is Saban angry that he's moved down the list, or you're okay on that?
Yeah.
All right.
No one's getting near him.
No one's getting near him. You're all right. And by the way, Alabama just announced they had their best recruitment year ever. Yeah. How is that even possible?
Yeah.
But that's a big deal to recruitment. I mean, you guys get more winning the championship in the conference. You'll get more, I'm assuming, more television time. It kind of screws up the money games, doesn't it? They're going to be less, you'll have a target on your back. They're less likely to play.
We've got those figured out through 2026. Yeah.
2020, okay. Yeah. But it becomes, the recruitment becomes, I would think, an easier thing. Now, this was really your first year where it was all your guys. Am I correct on that?
There's still some guys.
Okay.
And they're good players.
Yeah.
Yeah. The previous coaching staff did a good job. They brought in good players, and those guys are helping us win games, and they have for a couple of years.
But mostly the guys that
Most
you've
of the guys that we
recruited
brought
now.
in, that's correct.
I know.
Yep.
And there was a special deal. The young man who had played, we're speaking about Arkansas, your quarterback, what his name?
Nick Starkle.
Okay, who was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Now, and you had told me, I had you on the radio show, you had told me the NCAA had made a special ruling this year.
For the extra year of eligibility.
Yeah.
Yes, because of COVID and because they wanted to make sure that, young people may elect not to participate. They didn't feel comfortable.
Right.
So in order to make sure that they could make that decision without worrying about a year of eligibility, the NCAA determined that everyone would get an additional year of eligibility, whether you played or not.
How many guys you got coming back from that team?
All of them. We have 20 of 22 starters coming back.
Wow.
So we have a big group, and that really plays into your question about recruiting, just how it impacts recruiting, because you don't have your normal turnover of your roster. You normally graduate 12 to 20-something seniors, right? So then you bring in 12 to 20-something senior or freshmen, right? You bring in the bottom, what's just left the top. But because that's not happening with us, we signed a much smaller class, and we only signed 13 players on the early signing day in December, and then we ended up not signing anybody on the main signing day, which was last week, because we're bringing this whole team back.
Yeah.
And we're excited about it. We have a really good group of kids coming back. This team battled through so much adversity, won the Mountain West Championship, went undefeated in the conference, won the conference championship game. So there's a lot to be excited about with those kids, and those guys getting another chance. I think for all of them to have another chance to have a normal year, where there's fans in the stands.
Fans, and that also will bring more fans out.
Yeah,
so
just the experience. I think is be
coaching
better.
staff still intact.
That there's been some runs on some coaches on our staff. I think the more success we have, the more frequent that's going to be, and that's okay. I'm really grateful to the men that have been on this journey, and women that have been on this journey with us, and so part of the process of their growth and development as coaches is them getting new opportunities and having that experience somewhere else.
Truth be known, there have been some runs on some of the staff members sitting on this dais today. So I'm delighted that you're here, that Marie and you decided to keep this team together.
I'm with Marie. So
I'm with him.
her.
So,
I'm with you guys.
Yeah.
We're going to take a little break and then be back with Marie and Brent and continue about where San Jose State University football and sports are going. And it's going to be fascinating. And the new stadium, so stay with us.
Hey, come here. You know why I bring my folks here so often? Because Willow Street has the best kids menu in town. And kids eat free on Tuesdays. Thank you. You're welcome. Now that's what I'm talking about. Can I get a wine list? Never mind.
And we're back. Welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm Michael Jacobi, executive producer of Jazz on the Plaz. Delighted, as I say every day, and I mean it every day, to have you with us, and what I think is a continuation of a fascinating program with Marie Tuite athletic director of San Jose State University, Brent Brennan, head football coach of the Mountain West Conference champion San Jose State Spartans. That's a mouthful, and it's sure a welcome mouthful to say. So we talked earlier in the show about where we've been. And I want to just take a minute to talk about where you guys have personally been. We've talked that you're an icon in Central Michigan. But you're in the Hall of Fame, Sports Hall of Fame, assistant basketball coach.
For a year.
For a year.
Just a year.
And does your record still stand in basketball?
Undefeated.
Undefeated? All right.
I'm making that up, but that's
No,
okay.
sure.
You know, the older you get, the better you were. That's how that works.
Exactly
That's
right.
how that works.
And
in
you were
athletics.
at University of Washington
Yes.
as an associate athletic director?
Yes, I was at University of Washington for 14 years.
14 years.
Senior associate athletic director. Had a chance to spend some time with some great football coaches and coaches of other sports.
Had
it was great.
a chance spending some time waiting for your turn, I see. Which a turn that came, you were at San Jose State associate athletic director again, 4 or 5 years?
I was the deputy athletic director for about 7 years.
Okay.
And in that time frame, I spent a little bit of time as the interim in 2012. We were getting ready to hire Gene Blameyer. And then became the athletics director in 2017. May of 2017.
And someday I pray that we don't have to keep talking about this, but the number of Division I women athletic directors?
Yeah, you know, it hasn't grown much.
No,
It was 9 in May of 2017. There were 9 of us out of 130 of the FBS level, and today there are 11.
Oh boy, we're making
So
progress.
we've had 2,
There you go.
and it's an interesting topic. We
Yeah.
could spend more time talking about it some other time, but it is disappointing.
Yeah. You are a St. Francis boy.
Correct.
Catholic boy, altar boy, the whole deal?
The whole thing.
The whole thing.
Yes.
The full Monty.
Yes.
And did you beat up on Bellarmine a lot?
Traded with him.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you also coached at Woodside, right?
Woodside High School.
That's
Good memory.
pricey territory.
Yeah.
Did you get a BMW with that deal?
No, you know, Woodside had an interesting mix to it
Really?
because I grew up in Redwood City, and Woodside High had a really interesting mix of kids from Woodside and Atherton, and then also East Palo Alto. So you had a really diverse campus, which was surprising for kind of the surrounding demographic.
Because it's a beautiful campus.
Yes,
Yeah.
very much.
And then you went down to UCLA,
Yep.
and you were wide receiver.
Yes.
Now we had a coach, Carricker. Was he before you? Was he the backup to Aikman?
He was.
He was. Okay.
was.
So when you got there, Aikman was gone.
Yep. And so
Okay.
was Coach Coach
Carriger.
Carriger was actually a graduate assistant coach when
really?
when I was playing. Yeah.
Okay.
And I say playing loosely because I did not play very much. I was on the team.
Who was the starting quarterback that year?
It was Wayne Cook. There's a couple guys. Wayne Cook, Tommy Maddox. There's some good players.
Okay. All right. And then you went up to, I want to say you were in Oregon.
Yes.
Right?
Before I came here, I was at
Yeah.
Oregon State for 6 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool school.
Great. Had a
Because we've
great
gone to
place
these
there.
places with you guys,
Yeah.
and I love their stadium. Yeah. And they always have all these funky little bars in the middle of nowhere, which I love.
Yeah.
So that's a cool stadium.
Yeah.
So you come down to San Jose State, and what was the record you inherited? Which is an unfair remark, but
That's a good question. I don't know.
you
I think
Right.
opened with what? Your first year?
our first year we were 2-10.
Okay.
Yep. We were 2-10.
And your second year?
1-11.
Okay, so things were on a roll.
Yes.
And
So tough years.
this is your
Oh
fourth
my
year. Am I
goodness, were those
correct
tough
on this?
years. This is our 4th year.
Okay, so last year.
5-7.
Okay, so this year now, can we get the national championship trophy here? So I could you got to promise to come back on the show when
That'd be
you win
great.
this year.
Yeah.
Will
That'd
that
be
work?
great. Yeah, I would love that.
We call Saban, cancel
Yeah.
that deal. Okay, so having this wonderful year, how other than recruitment, and recruitment is in many ways everything, but from a nickel and dime standpoint, which when did nickel and dimes matter, but half millions and millions standpoint, got to be huge in fundraising.
Oh, absolutely. This past season just simply increased the awareness of San Jose State, the football program, the athletic department, and certainly our university. I mean, millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars in advertising, whether it's on ESPN or CBS Sports or Fox News. And, you know, we really gave people during this COVID time something to look forward to, something to cheer, something to get excited about.
And I just hope that next season, as do you guys, hope that it translates into people coming out.
Right.
Hopefully we can do it this year, but
you know, we had a
people getting
chance to
this
play
there.
3 games at home with no fans, but we have our beautiful new scoreboard, and you're right, the east side of the facility's down, and then we went on the road quite a bit. The fact that we didn't play Hawaii, Nevada in the conference championship in Sefcu Stadium was really, really hard for you know, for all of us. However, in some ways, the journey and being on the road and flying from Hawaii all the way to Vegas and being in Vegas for days and days and days and days, you know, really create this story and this bonding experience. I got asked, you know, would we, you know, as far as COVID testing, was it the right decision to make to bring fall sports back, and in particular football? Absolutely, no question. The memories those young men now have for the rest of their lives, it was worth every single challenge we went through. We went through a ton. It was worth it. And you see those young men and how they felt after winning that championship.
And you know, as it's an average citizen who's been a victim of the lack of things, you know, it meant the world to me.
Yeah.
And even the PGA without people, you know, all of that was extraordinary. So what happens in terms of? I know you split the gate, and I don't want to get into a whole bunch of financials, but I'm wondering, winning the championship, does that transform into more money? Do you get better television deals, or is that all set through the conference?
It's all set through the conference.
Okay.
Yep.
But you get better times.
The
maybe?
revenue distribution is set through the conference. Those are conference decisions. They make decisions. Our TV partners, our media partners, make their selections on which games they want to broadcast. They also determine the time. So you're right. Those.
So
all
you'll
set.
get more preferential treatment, I would assume.
What I think might happen is that we will find ourselves on TV more Thursday and Friday night, which is good. It also creates a little bit more challenge for coach in preparation and that.
I have to start texting you earlier in the week.
Yeah,
That's right.
But we love being on television no matter. We will play anytime, any place.
Yeah.
And just one quick point, even this fall, we were prepared to play every game that we were scheduled to play. We didn't play at Boise and we didn't play at Fresno, but we were ready to play.
And was it Boise? There's a little controversy. I mean, it struck me as, I know if you guys can't talk about it, it's fine, but it struck me as odd that you flew all the way up there and they go, I can't do it. I mean, you guys didn't know about this 4 hours ago before we got on the plane?
No, I mean, the hard part is that, you know, some of that stuff you don't know when the test comes back, right? There's the timing of it, and as cases increase nationwide, the turnaround on the testing got a little more funky, or some, you know, at times when it was slow, you'd get it back 24 hours later. You could set your clock by it, but at that time they didn't get their tests back till later in the day. It was Thanksgiving weekend. We were already in Boise, Idaho. We were in the team hotel. It was Saturday morning. She called me. I went for a run that morning. I was drinking a cup of coffee. She called me. Sounded like she was in tears, and she said the game's off. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, it was hard. It was a hard team meeting. Guys were upset. It was really
brutal.
Yeah. We're gonna continue. We're gonna take a break, and then we'll get back together in a few minutes. All right. I'm Jacobi. I'll see you soon. In New York, the perfect pizza is prepared with fresh, creative toppings. At Willow Street, our new pizzas, like our prosciutto di Parma and gorgonzola, also feature fresh, creative toppings. The perfect pizza. It's closer than you think. Can you tell the story about, I mean, it's no secret, you were pitched by a lot of schools before you signed your new contract. Arizona. And you had some tie into Arizona, right?
My mentor, who I also worked for at San Jose State, was Dick Tomey.
Right.
And I coached there when I was just getting started.
Okay.
And I married a girl from that went to U of A.
That's Courtney's
brother.
Okay.
My brother played football there, so
there's
multiple connections to the U of A. Yeah.
How tough is that?
You know, it worked out the way it should, and I really believe I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Okay.
Working with the people I'm supposed to be working with, from Marie, the administration, the players here, I really feel like we have something special. I feel like we're doing something. We're in this unique time at San Jose State with just kind of people's understanding and respect and perception of the university is exploding right now. And I'm walking down the street here in Los Gatos. I see people wearing San Jose State stuff everywhere, and it's really starting to get some of the recognition that I think is long overdue for the university. And I think football can help that.
Oh, there's no question about it. If there is ever a key word in life, it's respect. And thanks to what you guys have done, you have been so instrumental in having the school and the program earn that. And what's taken the last 4 years, you guys are in a big pond all of a sudden. It's not where it used to be before. Speaking of that pond, you had the good sense of tearing the garage down before the car came home. So they're building this new addition to the stadium. Is it going to be the Bill Walsh, or are they going to? It's different.
Right now, it's called the Spartan Athletic Center.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's going to be on
the east side.
Well, they tear the east side. You got to see this. If you've seen the games, the east side's gone. So it goes. Well, I guess we better finish it.
Well, this building was talked about when I arrived. 11 years ago.
Well, the shovel was in the ground a long time ago.
And we wanted to make a statement because it often had sort of got started, then stopped, started and stopped, and so we were a little tired of that, and so we said we're going to tear the east side down. So now we sure as heck need
now
to
is
build a
fundraising
building.
For that going well?
It's ongoing. Yes, we've had some significant gifts. Of course, you never stop fundraising, and so we talk about the building all the time.
Familiar with having your hand out, and it's never to shake.
That's right.
But that's getting there. And what's the time? And we're probably, as we're chatting, we're showing some renderings that your office sent us. Can you describe from your standpoint what the facilities will mean to you?
I think that's the one piece that's been missing from our program.
It seems like every school we go to, not to interrupt, but when we come back with you, there's always that building that's at the end of the stadium.
No, I think that's a big part of it. I think when young people come on a campus and they try to get a sense of what it's like going to be like day to day for them on that campus, that's where they start, is in the locker room, in the football building, with their coaches, in the meeting rooms, that kind of stuff. And so many of the people that we compete against have invested in a significant way in bricks and mortar. And so if you go on a trip with the team to Boise State and you walk around their facility and you see that facility, you can understand why young people are excited about going there. And so to me, this facility is going to be absolutely just groundbreaking. It'll change the whole game for us, for men's and women's soccer too, because we're going to share it with men's and women's soccer, which is going to be great. But that's the one piece where we've always had a great school, we've always had a great location, we've always had great weather, right? But there's that facility piece that it has been something in recruiting that stopped us.
In all fairness, student athletes had to make a few concessions.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And you've got, since then, we mentioned John Kennedy last half hour, you've got the great golf facility there.
Well, if you haven't had a chance to drive around South Campus lately, the 65 acres down there, they've been transformed. There's a new parking structure, which we'll share with the Sharks and with the Giants, but 6 days out of the year, I need that parking structure because cars got to be able to park for football games. But we've built tennis and softball and beach, and certainly the golf complex is beautiful.
Let's talk for 1 second about years ago. You and I were chatting, and you were talking about the fact, maybe it was Cal or some Division I school that only has 16 sports, and you guys have how many?
22.
22,
right.
Which is pretty much unheard of. And
well,
you and I talked about if we ever had to cut, if you ever had to cut, where do you go? Who do you talk to?
Yeah, the NCAA bylaw requires you to have 16 to be Division I. And a number of schools in the conference have 16. We have 22, and it's a very broad, and we offer a lot of programs, and we offer a lot of opportunity to young people. So we're excited about the 22 programs that we have. Yeah.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
And we're in the middle of basketball now. Do we have a time frame when we can guess? And I know everybody's got it in terms of fans.
Well, we
I
would
mean, are
hope.
they-
We hope there's some capacity
Yeah.
come next fall. I mean, as you said, the vaccine's out. You know,
Yeah.
they call it the cavalry, and
Yeah.
we're hopeful that come next fall when we open up at home, that we'll be able to at least entertain some kind of a fan base. But again, our county will be making those decisions
Right.
based on the overall health of our county. So.
The three of us here are big Ted Lasso fans, and for the folks at home who haven't seen it, it's a show with Brian Sedakis on Apple, and it's about a Division II American football coach who gets hired to be the manager of a soccer league in England, and it's absolutely wonderful. I couldn't recommend it
Yeah.
any more highly. That guy, his character, that coach reminds me so much of you. No, it does. No, I'm serious because of the rapport
Actually,
you
that's
have.
that's not the first time I've heard that, actually.
Well-
Oh.
yeah.
Well, because, you know,
I'm not sure how I should feel about that.
I mean, you went, I mean, you know, these good times are, you know, all glorious fleeting. But,
Yes.
I mean, these good times couldn't be better. But you went through it,
Yeah.
and you kept your head up.
Yeah.
And more importantly, I believe, although I haven't worked with you as an athlete because your standards are much too high to use me, but you kept your guys pumped, and you kept them respecting themselves.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. And I think young people nowadays have more to deal with. There's more criticism and scrutiny on high school, college, and professional athletes than there's ever been in the history of the world. And people have unique access to them. They can, you know, they can hit them on Twitter or social media in an instant when they make a mistake in a game. And then a young man comes home after the game or comes to the locker room and takes a shower and turns on his iPhone, and he's got 20 Twitter messages that tell him what a bad player he is.
Yeah.
You know, so I think when we were going through the struggle, it was critical that I kept believing we could. And really what I told the team is like, what choice do you have?
Yeah.
You want to think you can't? Like, who wants to live that way, right? So for me, it was a really easy position to be in, because the only way we're going to get there is if we believed that we could.
Isn't it, I would think it would be difficult for a coach not to blow smoke with these kids and say, you know, you think about the pros, tell them the truth. You know what the odds are? You know, enjoy college, enjoy this experience, because that is so rare. And it may happen. And if someone says, has it in their mind, that's where I want to end up, that's where I'm going to go, all of a sudden, maybe 2 years ago, you wouldn't have made the decision to pledge to San Jose State. But now you would, because you're going to get the attention. And that, again, we're back to the old recruiting situation. That makes that easier.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, there's a lot of good coaches out there, but no coach is any good without good players.
Yeah.
And so it's all about the young men that are playing for us and competing for us, that are doing the things on the field. And we've been lucky that way. I feel like we've done a nice job as a coaching staff developing the young men in our program. We've recruited the Bay Area extremely hard. Have a bunch of young men from the Bay Area making impacts on Saturdays for us in Spartan Blue and Gold. So there's a lot of really fun stuff to be excited about with
Now, that's obviously a finite pie in terms of recruitment. How you go about it? I mean, are there coaches that don't look at JCs? Are there coaches that maybe don't look at different high school programs that you have to dig a little deeper?
Well, I think, you know, the teams that have the most success are the ones that do a good job of evaluation.
Yeah.
I think that part of it, I think, you know, it doesn't matter who you're watching play, you can kind of tell who's good, but is one player at a certain school better than another player at another school? How do you differentiate the two? How do you find out who's going to be the best fit for your program? And so in my mind, that's how we put the investment into getting to know the young man, getting to know his family, talking to his teachers. Is he serious about school? Is he, you know, does he work hard? What is his work ethic like? What's he like in practice? You know, so trying to find out kind of the whole picture of the young man, not just the talent that's on the field. Well, what are we bringing into our football family, and what kind of impact is he going to have?
Fit in, yeah.
Yeah.
You talked about Dick Tomey being your mentor, who was a terrific guy. I knew him. Talk a little bit about what in your mind makes you different, what you bring to the table.
That's a hard question. I think I am just fundamentally optimistic, and I believe there's a way. And I think with the scrutiny, with this chair that I'm sitting in, it's so easy when we were 2-10 and 1-11. It's so easy to feel that, and to be able to just focus your attention on moving forward and finding ways to get creative with what we're doing offensively or defensively or special teams. You know, encouraging people, encouraging young men, encouraging our staff, finding ways to highlight the things that were positive and the good things that were happening instead of spending so much time focusing on the bad things that were happening. And that's what society does, right?
Yeah.
Just read the newspaper, right? You know, so you know, I think that's where I live, and that's where you know, I think if you can get,
that's where
we had success.
That's where you're
that
most
way.
comfortable as well.
No question. And I think that's why we had success this year, is because no matter what came at us through COVID, I mean, this is a messy time for everybody, but, you know, 18 to 22-year-old kids, you know, losing school, social life, right, where they live, the sport they play, like the world was so different. And so I think because we were positive, because we kept believing we could find a way to move forward, and Marie and Dr. Papazian kept helping us find that way, that gave us a chance to play good football this fall.
As I've said many times, that Mama said there'd be days like this, but she never said there'd be years.
Right.
So let me ask you the same question.
Yeah.
What do you bring to the table that's different?
And I just want to make one comment too about Coach Tomey, that you know, Coach Brennan and Coach Tomey were probably about as close of two individuals as I've seen in college football. And I remember there were several times throughout this past season where I know you wished you could have picked up the phone and called them and just said, "What do you think about this?" or "Help me with this."
No
so
question.
very, very special man. And I only had a chance to know him for a few years, but you know, leaves those lifelong impacts on you. I said this, that I think Brent and I have been eerily aligned since the beginning on what we believe we need to build, you know, a sustainable program at San Jose State. And we're not interested in winning the Mountain West one year and then not competing again for it. I mean, we're going to compete every year for championships. And the easiest thing is to say it. I mean, you really have to have a plan in place. And you know, Brent has mentioned President Papazian and members of the cabinet and Charlie Foss. It does not happen without
And she is wonderful.
She is. She is
backed
very,
you and backed the programs, and
She did.
and that's got to take a lot of pressure off. to
She's
know that-
unwavering. No matter what we're facing, she is
She's a
calm.
tremendous leader.
She
Yeah.
is.
Tremendous leader.
Yep, and we both learn from her all the time. So we're working hard. We're rolling our sleeves up. We're investing every year, which I'm not so sure, to be honest with you, in the past, and certainly, you know, not to pass judgment on past years, but if you want people to support you, you have to invest every single year in whatever product it is that you're hoping
keep
people will
knocking
get
on
excited
doors.
about. And that's what we've been doing for the last few years.
It's always been a frustration for me, and I know for you guys. I mean, San Jose State alumni is gajillions of dollars, and it's a tough nut to crack. And particularly some of the big donors, and some of here you are in the middle of Silicon Valley, and so much of that money is going overseas that you just want to say, shake those guys, and I'm talking for you, but I want to shake those guys. Hey, guys, look in your own backyard.
Yeah, I think part of it is when the alums were students at San Jose State, they weren't necessarily vested in college football. So they weren't coming down to the games. We weren't giving them a product to get excited about. So now they graduate and we all say, well, invest. Well, they weren't necessarily invested when they were students. So our job is to create this product in all of our sports that the students get excited about, because that's where your Spartan pride gets built.
Absolutely.
And but you're right, we need help, and we need help from everyone financially as we continue to build our program.
So if for the folks watching, I imagine, do you take donations?
Every day.
I will
Every
come to
day.
your house.
Every
Every
day.
day.
Yeah.
We'll pick it up every single
So
day.
where do you go to?
You
The
just
website?
Google SJSU Spartans and you'll get our
Google
website. And
Marie
right at
and
the
Murray.
top, right at the top, it says giving. It says giving, and there's just
you-
click on the tab.
Are you both patient people by nature?
Not really.
No.
See, this is what I find. This is what I find
we got-
interesting, because I mean, there are a
Work
lot of
on it.
athletic directors,
Whew.
and there are a lot of coaches who say, "Ah, no, I can't.
Yeah.
It's not going to work."
Yeah.
I mean, hence the extraordinary turnover in both of those jobs.
Right. And I want to talk a little bit too, just real quickly about those first few years because they were tough.
Yeah.
But this guy here, just optimistic, believe in the process, stick together, turn in, sense of family. I mean, that 5 overtime game against Hawaii, our second year, we're still not over it.
No,
we're
I'll
not
never
over
get
it.
over
We'll
that
never
game.
get over
I'll
it.
never get
We're
over
not-
that loss.
We're not over the Nevada loss or the UNLV loss. I mean, those losses, in some ways, we remember those so much more than at times we do. But they're part of the growth process, and so. But he's pretty remarkable in being able to keep people centered on what really matters and getting them to believe that they can be successful.
Well, you are the Starsky and Hutch of college football, and there couldn't be a better combination. And we as fans couldn't be more fortunate to have you together.
Right.
And,
Well, and I want to thank you for your support too. You and Ed, you're always there with us. You're there whether we're winning or whether we're losing. So we appreciate it very much.
Who do you have? Who's the money game this year?
USC.
Oh,
At
USC.
At USC, yes. Yep. So we're excited to go down to Los Angeles and play them. We're looking forward to
We
it.
played them a few years ago, didn't we?
We played them about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I was at that game.
Yeah.
At
We
the-
played UCLA since I've been here. We haven't played them since I've been
Then
here.
I-
So yeah.
I guess I went.
So I was an
2010.
assistant coach then.
Yeah.
Coach Tomey was our head coach.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
we went down there in like 08 or
And
09.
you were up by 3.
That's right. We were up by 3 nothing at the end of the first quarter.
That's right. And I said, we're going to cover. That didn't work out. Anyway, San Jose State football, once the spring starts.
Spring starts the end of March.
End of
And
March?
Spring games on May 1st.
Okay. All right.
As of right now,
Yep.
COVID permitting,
As of
just,
right now, God willing, we've turned the corner and we'll climb the stands, enter the boxes, and
That's
have
right.
ourselves a football
Right.
season.
Sounds good.
God bless you guys.
Thank you
you
very
so
much.
much for being on, and thank you for a great year, and thank you for keeping on.
Thank you
That's what
very
you guys are doing.
Appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Marie Tuite, Brent Brennan from San Jose State. That's Talk of the Town for this episode. Where we go from here, I'm not sure, but if we find another group of interesting people like these folks, we'll get back and be sure to share them with you. Until next time, I'm Jacobi. I'll see you soon.